everyone. Welcome to SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST Edupedia. I am Assistant Professor Padma Deshpande. Today I am going to cover one of the concepts of Basics of Productivity and TQM. This is Module 3 of your subject Production and Total Quality Management, which is in SYBMS Semester 4. In my last session, we have we have seen what is production, what is productivity, what is the difference between production and productivity. Production is a process, whereas productivity is a measure. Production is concerned with quantity. Production is basically related to the output, and productivity is related to how efficiently the inputs are used so that we get maximum output. So this is what we had seen in the last lecture, and we had also seen some of the aspects of quality management. Then we had seen Deming's 14 points of quality management. I had also told you about what is quality, why it is important, what are the factors that affect quality, and the importance of quality management. And in the last lecture, if you remember, I had given you 14 points of quality management, which was given by Edward Deming. Today we are going to see furthermore aspects related to the quality management. So in this, the first aspect is was quality management aspects given by Edward Deming. The second theory is given by Philip Crosby, and it is related. It is called as Philip Crosby Quality Program. So in this also he has given 14 points. What are those 14 points? That is, actually he has given 14 steps. The first step is that the management has to have a commitment. First and foremost, quality should come from the management. The management should be committed towards quality achievement. Then there has to be a proper formation of a quality improvement team. So it should involve members from all the departments who are specialized, especially in total quality management. Then there should be an action plan, that is how you are going to measure the quality. So the third step will be to assess and measure the quality. So here the areas that requires improvement needs to be identified, and accordingly necessary steps must be taken. The fourth step is to evaluate the cost of quality. That is, like when we are taking a quality management program, what is the cost involved, what will be the outcome, how it will impact the overall performance of the company. All these things needs to be taken into consideration. So basically what we are going to do is do a cost and benefit analysis. Then the step 5 would be to have a quality awareness. So basically every person in the organization, that is all the workforce, needs to be trained. They should be given training with regards to quality management. Then the next step would be, step 6 would be to take corrective actions. Wherever improvements are required, right from the beginning, care should be taken that the steps are properly followed so that mistakes are avoided. Then the 7th step is that plan for a zero defect program. That is, whenever you are doing any task or whenever any activity is being done, see to it that from the beginning itself there are no mistakes taking place. So all the hindrances, all the defects should be eliminated in the beginning itself, so that the outcome will be that we have a good quality output. Then the step 8 is supervisor training. So in this, the supervisors have to continuously upgrade themselves. They need to understand, they need to train themselves, and then they should teach also. They should see to it that they should understand that quality is a continuous process. So people have to be trained also continuously. So effort should be taken that the workers are trained. So the supervisor should provide training from time to time. Then in the organization, a zero defect that day should be celebrated, so that on that day there is no need for any kind of improvement. That kind of days should be encouraged in the organization. Then goals should be set. Then whatever the errors are happening, those how it can be eliminated. There should be a brainstorming session. The employees' views should be taken. The employees should be consulted. Then even the employees should be recognized. That is in step 12. I have written over here that those employees who are contributing towards quality, those who are taking steps towards quality, they should be recognized. They should be given awards and rewards. And also there should be a special quality council which should meet on a regular basis and should try to redefine the quality goals, take necessary steps of improvement, and this entire program, this 14 steps should be repeated once again, as it should not stop. एक बार काम हो गया ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए. It should be a continuous process. So again and again these steps should be followed, so that what will happen is the company will be able to give quality output, and as such the overall productivity of the organization improves. So this is the 14 points of quality management which is given by Philip Crosby. So earlier we have seen, in my last session I had told you about Edwards 14 point of quality improvement or quality management, and today we saw 14 points of quality management which was given by Philip Crosby. Another person, very well known person, is Dr. Joseph Juran, who in 1986 prepared a quality theory which is known as a Juran's trilogy. So in this theory he has given emphasis on three important aspects, that is quality planning, second is quality control, and third is quality improvement. So according to Joseph Juran, if the quality has to improve, then there has to be a proper design, there has to be proper planning. Then wherever deviations are taking place or wherever errors are happening, then proper control measures should be there, regulatory measures should be there which will remove this quality deviations, and quality improvement should be a continuous aspect. So this is what Juran's trilogy says. Basically every theory or every person's pointers focuses on one thing, that is quality management. Similarly, to achieve good quality, another theory which is given by Ishikawa is which is known as fishbone analysis. Now this is basically a theory. In this, if a problem is there, so what are the causes of the problem and what are the possible solutions that can be derived? This fishbone theory tries to explain those causes and effect. So we can also call this theory as a cause and effect analysis or a cause and effect theory. Now in this, if you see, the fishbone diagram is represented in the form of a fish, and these are some of the causes of a problem. It can be wrong methods, it can be faulty machines or old machines, it can be due to faulty raw material, it can be due to unskilled people working or wrong people handling, then it can be due to wrong places also, like then it can be due to wrong procedures. If the step-by-step procedure is not followed, then maybe the outcome can be different. Maybe the policies, the company's policies that are there, that may be framed in the wrong manner, which may not be able to give the desired outcome, or maybe sometimes the suppliers who are supplying the raw material, they are not proper, that there are no proper systems, or if the workers lack skills, These can be some of the causes because of which the necessary desired output may not occur. Now, a very simple example I will like to tell you. Suppose if a student comes late in the class, okay, and the teacher asks him that why did you come late into the class? The student may reply that I woke up late, or so why did you wake up late? Because maybe the student slept yesterday night, he must have slept late, or maybe he must have gone out somewhere, he came home late, or maybe the student woke up early but because of some other reason he got delayed. Maybe his phone was not charged and because of that he did want to get out of the house without his phone, so because of that he must have got late, or maybe he must have missed his bus or train and because of that he must be late. So there are n number of reasons because of which the student got late and he came late into the class. So because of this, what has happened? The classroom got disturbed. The student missed what the teacher was saying. The student might have missed some of the important concept. If the student has missed the entire first lecture and he has come in the second lecture, so what has happened? He has missed the entire aspect. Some important notice which was given in the first session he might not understand, or there is a possibility that he might get only half the information. So these are some of the causes and its effect. So similarly in the organization, through the fishbone diagram, what are the possible causes due to which the necessary outcome is not coming, that is analyzed, and accordingly what should be done, that is decided or discussed, and then corrective actions are taken. So this fishbone diagram helps to understand what are the causes, what and how it can affect the outcome. It encourages brainstorming, like people can think about, they can do discussions, they can try to find out what are the possible solutions to a problem. People can it encourages more of broad thinking. It encourages that people should think out of the box. Then it also encourages to think on encourages people to not only think about only one particular problem but go to the root cause and find out what are the major areas that needs to be addressed. So basically it encourages more of priority thinking. What things should be prioritized first, what things we should give more importance, what are the areas which we can look on later, what are the smaller aspects which we can which we should not ignore. All these aspects we can analyze through the fishbone diagram. However, there are certain disadvantages also, like this is a time consuming session. Sometimes it can lead to confusion, sometimes it can lead to only discussions without any possible proper outcome. It can sometimes multiple factors might be there because of which the problem is caused, and only solving one particular problem might not give the correct solution to that problem. So this fishbone diagram, although it helps to identify the various areas, still it is a very time consuming, it is a very costly affair, and it involves lot of discussions, and sometimes it might not be able to give the proper solution. So these are the disadvantages of the fishbone diagram. So today basically we have seen three concepts. First, I told you about Philip Crosby's 14 points of quality management. Then I explained to you what is Juran's trilogy of quality management, and just now we did Ishikawa's fishbone diagram. These all concepts are related to quality management. In the next session we will be doing, I will be telling you something about quality circles and then CircVel, and some more concepts related to quality management. Till then, stay connected. Thank you.